FMtraining.tv. My name is Margaret. I'll be your broadcast engineer for today. I'm here at the wonderful Calvin. Hi, Calvin.
Good afternoon.
Calvin is awesome because is getting to join us for today, Monday, and I think this Wednesday as well. Real quick, let's bring up what we're talking about. So basically, we're in the middle of a running beginner series, people who need to know FileMaker from the ground up, people who haven't used FileMaker in a little while, who are only faintly familiar with it, or even intermediate people who do stuff they just want the refresher. Sometimes it's really useful to approach the FileMaker platform from the viewpoint of a beginner, refreshing stuff that you don't use very often or forgot about, or if you're trying to explain FileMaker to someone else, always good to know what things they're going to run into that trips them up. So, Monday we're doing most common script uses, which will be interesting. There's a couple scripts that you're going to have pretty much in every single FileMaker file. We're going to talk about a lot of those today. Tuesday will be document management, always an important conversation. One of the very first things people ask for is, can I put in my Word document, my PDFs, my pictures into FileMaker? And the answer is yes, but it's always a conversation. Wednesday will be navigation and device screen sizes, basically navigating between layouts in FileMaker, and also taking into account that the size of your layout is going to matter, depending on whether or not you are using FileMaker Go, FileMaker Pro, or even WebDirect sometimes. Not WebDirect so much. WebDirect, I think layouts can be close to identical to just regular size layouts on FileMaker Pro. Though if you're using it WebDirect for phone, again, that changes. So with all the hellos and welcomes done, Calvin, what are we doing today?
Today we're looking at scripting, just basic scripting, and what can we do with scripting? What is a script? And we'll be looking at FM Starting Point to kind of demo what some of these options are. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So we're looking at, and we actually, funny enough, we started this last time I was here when we were talking about calculations, and somebody asked, what's the difference between a calculation and a script? A script is for performing an action. A calculation is more for figuring something out, figuring out a number or a text or whatever. So anyway, we're picking up the conversation where we left it off and moving from calculations, and now we're into scripts. What are some basic things that we can do with scripts? Scripts are a list of actions that we put together, and they're actions that we want to repeat over and over and over again. So some things we can do with scripting. We can do navigation between layouts. We can automate finds. We can perform sorts. We can set up print. We can set print settings and print out of FileMaker. We can do imports of data into FileMaker or exports of data out of FileMaker. So just about any action that you perform in FileMaker is something you can automate with a script. And the more often it's an action that we repeat, the more likely it is to be helpful to be put into a script. So here we have FM Starting Point, and each of these buttons that we see on this home screen is attached to a script that performs an action. So in these cases, each of these accounts, contacts, estimates, products, projects, invoices, these all are navigation scripts that navigate us from the home screen to that layout. And they can actually work from these same scripts are called other places. So if I say, let's click on the accounts, it runs the account script. If I click on contacts, it runs the contact script. Now, if I click on accounts again, it's the same button, same script that we called at the beginning to get to accounts. It always brings us back to here. So let's go ahead and look at what one of these scripts maybe the question first is, why would we do this as opposed to just finding the layout? So the other option we have, we can go to File, Manage, Layouts, and then we can search in here for Accounts and say, okay, Accounts Data Entry, that's the one we want, and say Open. So there, that took, what was that, 4 steps to do this process of opening up the accounts detail layout when we could just have a script that does it all for us. The other option we have is to go to, in the toolbar, we've got this drop-down area where you can navigate through the accounts. And I've seen some apps that they didn't have any navigation. Everybody navigated through this layouts options. And so you can go back home and it's hidden from us. So we can go back in here and select accounts and get back over there. So a couple things we can do with scripts. So let's go ahead and look at just a basic navigation script, and then we will look at FM starting points navigation. So let's go to scripts, script workspace. And I'm just going to open up a set of area at the top where I'll add these new scripts. And I will say, call this new navigation script. And one of the cool things that is in recent versions of FileMaker is that when you start typing in the script workspace, so just type the letter G, it brings up all of the options with the letter G in it. So it used to be you had to pick through over here on the right side and do a search, but now we can just type right in there, which is awesome. So I'm going to say go to, and I see layout there. I'll select layout. And what are our options here? We can say original layout. So if you're in the middle of a script, you can say go to original layout to return to wherever that script started. We have layout name by calculation or layout number by calculation. I'm just going to select layout. And then we can select this accounts data entry layout that we wanted, that we've been looking at. So that is all we're going to do in this one. Just a single step. Let's go ahead and add our button to this layout. And I'll just say, go to accounts and perform script. I'll say the new navigation script. And actually, just to make this a little different, instead of going to the data entry, I'm going to go to the list view. So we're not redundant in our buttons. So I'll call this go to accounts list. I'll go to browse mode. By selecting this button, it will just go right there to our account list. Let's go ahead and do that again. Now that was pretty fast and pretty simple. Let's go ahead and watch it with the script debugger. So script debugger is a tool that is an advanced tool that we can use to watch a script happen step by step. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. I will select go to accounts list. And here it shows me the script. I can step into it. And it's only one step long. So you can see it happen. When I press the step into, it will perform that action. And now the script's over. So pretty simple action here, but a very necessary and powerful one because we use navigation scripts all over the place. Okay, let's open the script debugger. And we're going to do the same thing again, but this time we're going to look at FM starting points script. It's a little more complicated than the one that I did. And we'll just talk through what each of these things is doing. So we'll see that this script has a number. It's always good to number your scripts. That's really helpful for figuring out which script's doing what. And we'll step into to go through these actions. So first thing that we did was allow user abort off. That means the user can't cancel the script in the middle. Then we set error capture on. That means they won't get any errors, but it also means that we need to trap for the errors and give our own error messages. And then we're checking to make sure it's in browse mode. We don't want to navigate in find mode. If we go, so here it's checking a global variable to see if we're in the touch mode or not. If we are in touch, it's going to navigate to a touch layout. Now we're not in touch, so it's just going to skip over that. And now it's checking to see if there's any modifier keys. Now, and then it's going to explain what that means. Now, each of these green lines is a comment. So it's explaining what the code is doing. And these are really, to add it to your script, all you have to do is select Control or Command 3 for that hash, the pound sign, and then you can type into there. So here it's checking for modifier keys. If the Control key or Command or the Option key is held down while the script is being run, it will open a new window. And I'll demo that in just a minute. So, but I'm not holding a modifier key down, so it didn't do anything. And now it's going to go to the accounts layout, and I'm not going to go through this. This is an on layout enter trigger that does some work for us. And here's the end of that navigation script. Okay. So that navigated us there. And it took a few more steps because we wanted to make sure that we went to the right layout and the right mode, and make sure that if we wanted a new window, it would open the new window. Let's go ahead and show you how that works if I hold down the Command key or Control key on Windows and select the accounts. Now, when I do that, you'll notice that it opened a new window, which is really handy. Sometimes people want to be able to quickly navigate somewhere and open a new window. It's really awesome. So that's an easy way to open a new window. Now let's try it with a different mode. So in FM starting point, we have the scripts options, and we can set device mode. I'll select that. It asks me, do we want mouse, the default, touch, or iPhone? And the touch is like for iPad. So now I switch to the touch settings, and that changed the global variable. So if I go to Data Viewer and look at my current global variables, we will see device mode is set to touch. So now when I select accounts, instead of taking me to the account detail for desktop, it took me to the account detail for iPad. And you'll see that this is a portrait mode that would look really good on a iPad. Let's update our device mode back to mouse. And if we go back home, there we go. Now we're back in device mode as touch, or as mouse for the desktop. That was a quick overview of using a script for navigation, and then looking at how FM starting point's script for navigation is a little more complicated and does a little more things. Do we have any questions up to this point?
What happens if you let the person using it abort the script?
Yeah, good question. It depends on the scenario, whether that is, it depends on the scenario whether that's bad or not. Usually it's not bad, but usually the dialogue the user receives looks scarier than it really is. And so we try to avoid that. And the next thing that we want to look at is fines, and that'd be a good place to demonstrate this, the option to cancel or not. So I'm going to jump over to accounts, and we're going to look at setting up fines. So Command-Shift-S is going to bring my scripts back up. I'm going to enable these scripts to appear so I can see them. So we have our new navigation script. Let's add a new one, and we'll call this one new find script. Now, one thing that's good to see here is when you're working in scripts, we will have this star next to the name in the left, and also here up at the top right here. The star means that the script is not saved. And so you want to hit Control or Command S to save that. And now it's saved. And so I think I misspoke earlier. It's Shift-3 to get the pound, just to get that pound on there for commenting. So I'm going to comment this and say, this is a find script. So I will do a little bit longer version of performing a find. I'll say enter find mode. And I don't want it to pause. We'll leave pause on there. And perform find. We'll start real simple. So now when I go over here, I will put a new button on and call this one perform find. And we'll just grab our new find script, go to browse mode. And here, when I select perform find, now it gave me, it entered find mode. The script is still active. If I go into the data viewer, script debugger, I'm sorry, it's still there. The script's still running, and we have the option to type something in here. If I put in a J, so we've got Jeeves Gardens is one of the accounts here. And you'll notice that when I did that, it entered find mode. I was able to type in something and then select return to perform that find, or I could select continue, and it would continue the script and perform the find. Now, if I go back over here and I'll put in some script settings. Depending on what we're doing, I'll have different script settings. And I'll say allow user abort off. So that means somebody can't cancel. Now, when I go in here, you'll notice that our cancel button disappeared. And so I can say continue, but our cancel button disappeared. So I just disabled this so that we can see that cancel button once again. So there's the cancel button. And if I perform find, so let's just do this. Is this, oh, it's still, the script's still running, so it's not letting me go make a change here. Okay, so if I enable this again and say perform find, our cancel button disappeared. So I can't cancel this. So I'll just type something in and say, go ahead. Now, the other thing, if we say allow user abort off, if we get an error message, well, I'll just type something in that hopefully doesn't have anything. Sometimes this error message, we say no records match this find criteria. Do we want to modify the find, continue, or cancel? And sometimes that sounds a little scary. Sometimes you can get a dialog that says, do you want to continue this script? And it's not really clear to the user whether they should continue the script. So that's one reason why we put allow user abort off. A couple of the other options that we use often is set error capture on. So all those error messages that we were seeing are ones that are the default error messages. Now, if I put a Z in here and select return, now there's no results. Usually when I perform a find and there's no results, I don't need to be told that there's no results. I just need to be shown that there are no results. So I don't want to really see a dialog that says, hey, we didn't find anything. Instead, I just want to see a list, 0 accounts. There's my search results. So that's one thing I prefer here for those. So let's continue to work on this find script. So if I go to find mode and enter a type, I'm going to say company, or actually let's do a status. Instead, status is a little more useful. And so our status is active, and I'll select return. This just found all the active records. Now, some of them they're all active. Let's make one inactive because it's not very interesting when the search finds everything. Let's try that one more time. Now I'm going to use the option Control R or Command R, and that is going to bring up my last search. So if you performed a find and then you change data and you want to perform the same find again, you can select Command R, Control R, and that will bring up the last search you did. You can also have these recent finds up at the saved finds, which are handy. Select return. So now we've got 10 out of 12 are active. Now here, if I go to perform find and open this up, specify, you'll notice that because nothing was already specified, it put in our last find, which is really handy. A lot of times, if I'm doing a complicated find, I'll create the find in find mode in the layout, perform the find, and then set it up, and then just type in perform find in the script workspace, and it puts in all of those settings in there for me so that I don't have to set it up in there myself. Now, if we're just saying perform find, we don't actually need to enter find mode. So let's go ahead, and I just disabled this with a command /. Let's go ahead and try that again. So I'll select Command J to show all records and say perform find. And this time we found our 10 active records. Now, that's one way of performing a find. I'm going to disable this and keep our enter find mode in there. I'm going to say turn pause off. And sometimes when you perform a find, you want to really spell it out so it's really easy to read. So I'll say enter find mode, set field. I'll grab the status and set the field to equals active. That means it has to match exactly active. And then perform find. And let's go ahead and save that, and I will try it again. So it's like Command J to show all records, and now perform find. We see our 10 active records. We can change this to find active. So now we have a really handy script for finding the active records in accounts. And if everything's inactive, let's go ahead and just make everything. I'll select Command J to show all records. I'll enter the status field, select Command equals to do a replace field contents, and just set everything to the same value of inactive. Now when I say find active, it just shows me 0 records because nothing is active. That was some handy ways of using a script to perform a find that we might want to use often. Do we have any follow-up questions about scripts for performing a find or another action that we might want to perform repeatedly?
We do have a question. It's not quite related to the find.
Okay.
It's a kind of a different topic entirely, but it might be worth talking about because I think people get confused about what scripts are related to what they aren't. How do you write a script that gives a user access to just the security manager?
Interesting. Okay, so I don't know if you can open, there's a bunch of things you can open with scripts. Yeah, so you can say open manage database, but I don't think you can say manage security.
Yeah, and if you want like users to have different levels of access, that's not something that's controlled by scripts, right?
Well, you could build your own security manager in FileMaker if you really wanted to. And we do have a demo file that does that. Nick Hunter put one together. So you could use that. But the security isn't usually controlled through scripts. But you can say new account. So add account, that's what it's called. And here you can set the account name to be something, whatever you want it to be. Usually it's referencing a global field. But let's say new user. And the password, you can define a password, or you can say user must change password the next time they sign in. I'm just going to do username is new user and the password's 1234. The privilege set is going to be, so you can't do full access on something like this, but you can say data entry only and say okay. And so now if we go to File, Manage, Security, you'll notice that we only have one user account in here. Now, if I run this script, and you can run this with full access privileges, so anybody can do it. If you grant full access privileges, it won't give you an error if somebody's running it that doesn't have privileges to see security. Now, when we go to security, we'll see we've got this new user. And so you can use scripts to manage some of those security items. Usually when we give somebody access to manage security, we just give them access to the manage security itself. I hope that somewhat answers it. If you look up in our demos, Nick Hunter's Launchpad app, that one has a full user account manager in it.
I can go find that. It'll probably be.
Which would be interesting to look at if you're interested in doing something like that. Any other questions?
Yes. When you enable/disable a line, is it standard or part of a plugin?
That's standard, yeah. So here, back in the day, it used to actually have a button that said enable and disable, and the button disappeared, and it became a shortcut to highlighting a line and then selecting Command or Control spacebar. So that will enable or disable it. Not a button, that's just a default FileMaker feature. I'm curious if I say disable. No, that's disable script triggers. I don't think that you actually see that in the menu options. Oh, it says under edit. So, enable right here. So if you go to edit, enable, or edit, disable, you can find it right there while you're in the script workspace. Good question. Anything else?
Not at the moment. So.
Okay. So the next thing that we do a lot with scripts is sorting. So let's go ahead and take a look at this layout, and we'll look at some sorting options. And before we go too much farther, since we're done with finds, I'm just going to say show all. and change this to active and update everything to active once again. So now when we can do sorts a few different ways. We have sorting, a sorting option in the toolbar. We can just select that. Now, sometimes people will see this, but you give your users access to this. Sometimes they just stumble upon it through the toolbar. Some of these things are pretty obvious. Account, account type, but then we have calc subsummary category, calc subsum status. Can we move that one over? I don't think you can do a sort on subsummary. Now we've got the ID, the sort state. Now we've got this one that's in a related field. That would really be helpful in a sort, or we shouldn't be referencing that in a sort. It'll take too long. So sometimes we want to make this a little more automated and easier for the user. In this app, we can select these column headers and sort the records. So if we select account number, it sorts account, phone, email, person of contact, doesn't sort. And that's from a related table. So that would slow things down if we could sort it there. Category or status. You'll also notice that each of the ones that have the sort option enabled have a little icon to designate that it is sortable. So let's go ahead and write a new sort script. So I'm just going to hold down Option to create a new button here. And I'm going to call my new button Sort. I'm going to create a new, so here I'm in the dialog for setting up the button, and right from here I can create a new script. Let's just say new. And I'll say new sort script. And to make this real simple, I'm just going to say sort records. And I'll leave the dialog on. Okay. Okay. And browse. So now this sort script is doing exactly what we did with, what this button here does. It's just bringing up that sort dialog and then sorting the records based on whatever we select. So let's go ahead and make some adjustments to this and add these sorting features. So I'm going to remove the status, and actually let's do this in the script workspace so it saves. So I will go to this new sort script, and now I'm going to specify. And the cool thing about this is we can specify multiple items. So I'm just going to start with one, move it over, say account, and we want to sort ascending. Say OK. And let's go ahead and say sort. Now it brings up the dialog. We can turn that off just by saying dialog off. But we'll see that it's sorting those records. We got B, B, F, F, J, K. And so we're getting the sort that we wanted here, which is great. That's what we wanted. Another option is, I'm just going to disable this one and say sort records by field. Now what's handy about this one is that you can see exactly what you're sorting by without having to pop open the dialog. Now in this case, I had to pop open the dialog to see what the sort was. But in this case, I can select one field and say what I wanted to sort by. And over here, you have the option of selecting multiple fields. So I could say, okay, I want to sort by city and then by account. That way it would group all of the cities together. But selecting this one will only do one field at a time. So it's helpful when that's what you want. If you need multiple fields, use the standard sort option. So this is sorting. This is just basic sorting in a script using the sort records or sort by field. One other option here that we have which is a little interesting, is the ability to sort by a value list. So if you look in the sort here, we can say associate with value list. And that option's here as well. So if we select this, we have select a value list as well. So in this case, I'm going to say sort by status. And maybe, or actually, let's do account type instead. So we're going to do company. And you'll notice we already have a value list here. And this value list is not in alphabetical order. For whatever reason, we want companies at the top of the list, followed by agencies. And firms are the last. So if we want to sort this list, the category, we can select, what's it called, type. Look at what this field name is. It's called account type. So account type, I can select that, and I can say assign it to a value list. Now I'm just going to double check over here and see what my value list is. It's called ACC account type. So we'll find that one. Or maybe it automatically knows which one it is. Let's go ahead and sort. So now we see company came first, followed by agency, organization, manufacturer, firm. So what's really cool about this is that we were able to sort not alphanumerically, and we got the result that we wanted based on the value list. Now, if we go over here, let me go ahead and allow this to be editable. Let's make this value list editable. So I'll say allow editing of value list. And here, if I go and change this, I'll select edit, and I'm just going to stick firm back up at the top. Clean that up, say OK, and say sort, have it resort. And now firm is at the top. So you can change that, have everything sorted in whatever order you want using that technique. And there's some other cool things you can do there as well.
We do have kind of a follow-up question about that security thing, which I'll ask when we're done. Okay, cool. I know that I think he figured it out on his own. So he's like, oh, you don't have to ask this, but some other people might have the question, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Can you give permission for a user to create a new account who only has data entry? I think that's what you did, right? The new account created only had data entry access.
Right. So I did that with a script. But if you do that, you have to make sure that the person has, so new account. Now, the only reason that this worked was because I had set it up to work because my user account is full access. Now, if you do that for somebody who doesn't have full access, it won't run unless you right-click the script and go down to grant full access privileges. So any script you see here with this silhouette is showing that it has admin privileges. The person can be read-only access, but if they run this script, the script runs as if it is full access, and it won't give any errors that based on privileges. So that's how you could get around that. Okay. Anything else before we jump back to the scripts?
Nope, just that sorting on value lists is a new one for a lot of people. I didn't know that existed either.
Oh, yeah. It's a powerful one. It's how you can do a lot of cool stuff with that for getting things to sort, especially with reporting, because a lot of times in reporting, if you're doing a search, you don't really care where things show up, but if you're doing a report, you often want things to be in a certain order. So sorting by the value list can give you that flexibility. So now, to jump back to scripts, we created some real basic scripts to sort, did some really basic options in there. And now we're going to look at the options in FM Starting Point. Now you'll notice every time I click one of these buttons, it highlights. These aren't button bars, so it's not showing that it's active. It's through conditional formatting. And now if I hit something twice, we'll notice, I'll just see what the sort state is, where we've got this sort field and then account that we're sorting by. But if I select it a second time, you'll notice it's now in descending order. So if I look at the sort state, it's now by account in descending order, which is really cool that we can do that. So this button is sorting two different ways. How is it doing that? Let's go ahead and look at the script debugger. It's sorting ascending order and descending. Let's go ahead and click on this. And so here it's setting the error capture on and allow user report off. Now here's a variable that it's setting, a global variable, so it can be referenced after the script ends. And this variable, ACC sort account, is telling the interface which field is being sorted by. And then the conditional formatting references this global variable and highlights the button. We can look at that if we want to, but it's not strictly scripting. Now here, we are also using a global field to determine if the found set is sorted ascending or descending. So here I'll step into this one. Now let's go ahead and open up the data viewer to see what that value is. We'll jump up here. Jump up here. So here we can see the sort state is by account 2. So it just knows that it's already sorted and 2 would be descending. So it says, so it changes to account 1. That gets it ready for the next time it runs. And now it says sort, and here it's sorting in ascending order. And by default, unless it's already sorted by the account, it's going to be in descending order. And then it goes to the first record and refreshes the window. We don't really need a refresh window. I'm not sure why that one's the reason why it's there is probably to refresh this button. It'd be better to refresh the button though instead of the whole window. It will run a little faster. So here, so we sorted it and it's sorted in ascending order. Let's try this one more time. Now this time it's checking and it sees that it's already sorted by account with the account 1 in there. And so because it's already sorted by the account, it sets the field to account 2 and then sorts into the descending order. So based on that global field, it can figure out whether it's already sorted in ascending or descending order and then do the inverse of that. And if you go through FM starting point, all the sort scripts are like that. They all sort in both ascending and descending. We'll see that with the accounts. This is sequential. And if we look here, the account name, the phone number, the email, the person of contact, again, doesn't sort. Category, we changed this. Well, when we do category in this button, it does ascending and descending. If we do it with our custom one, it does by the value list. Now, any questions there about FM starting points, custom sorting, ascending and descending?
Not at the moment, I don't think. So
okay, so the sorting is a really good, helpful one when you're working with your interfaces. So the next thing I have that we wanted to look at is setting up. So we're looking at different things that scripts can do. We've got navigation, finds, sorts, and the next one is the ability to print to a printer or print as PDF. Let's go ahead and look at what our options are for that. If we go to here, I'm going to add new script and say new print script. And I'll say print, and you can put a print setup in there too, print setup. And we'll leave with dialog on for now. Okay, and let's go ahead and add our print button. Just call this one print. Here's our new print script. Browse. And now it asks me for the print setup, and I'll just say okay. And now it gives me the print options. I'm going to do the PDF so you can see it. I'll say open in preview. And here's my script. Here's the results. This isn't exactly useful. So what's going on here? Let's go ahead and look at our script. And look at this. So the print setup, we probably don't need, it remembers the last print setup that you used, so we won't focus on that. Now here, we're going to specify our print options. Now, a lot of times people run into this issue and they can't figure out why a list report only shows one record. Here's the issue right here. When we select print, we have to select current record or records being browsed. And I'm going to select records being browsed because I want the whole list. The other problem people run into is they try to print a single page report for one record, and it takes forever because they end up saying records being browsed and they print the entire found set. as a big detailed PDF. We don't want either of them. You want to make sure you use the right thing at the right time. So I'm going to select records being browsed, print. Save this. Let's go ahead and try that one more time. It's going to ask me about this. I'm going to say open in preview. And this is much better. So here I've got my list report. I've got it grouped by these different types, grouped in my special custom order based on the category, and the orders based on the value list that we specified. So this is much more helpful. It doesn't look much like a print report. So FM starting point does have print layout. So what we could do here is say, go to layout, and let's just look at our accounts print list report. So I'm going to do the accounts print list report. And then I will put a go to layout, original layout. So we're starting with our button, navigating to a special print layout, doing the print action, and ending the process by returning. We'll say print, say open in preview. And so here is a nice print report. We can customize this, and this looks like something you'd actually want to print off your printer. So definitely a step up from what we were looking at before looking at this. So we have additional print options that we can continue to explore here. Let's go ahead back over to our script workspace. And maybe we don't want to actually see that dialog. I'll say dialog off. And let's see if and it's going to PDF. So let's see if that works. Say print. I think I have to do a little bit more. Okay, let's do this. I think to actually get this to print without a dialog, we have to save as a PDF, which is similar to printing, but not quite the same. So let's go ahead and set that up. We can say save records as PDF, and which doesn't give us the print options, but it will give us, we can print from the PDF area, so that we're still selecting records being browsed, saving to the desktop. There we go. So here it is. It looks the same as the other one, and it didn't automatically open. If we go in here, I believe we can specify to automatically open this. Oh, we have to specify the name as well. So we can save as a PDF or go through the print dialog as well. Do we have any follow-up questions on printing? Do we want to go through seeing the save as PDF setup?
Sure, might as well, I think.
Okay,
So.
I'm going to change this to, we're going to duplicate this record, Control D or Command D, and I'll say new save as PDF script. So I'm going to remove the print setup, enable the save as PDF. Now, one thing that's required here is that we need to have to specify, to get it to automatically open, we have to specify an output file. So I'm going to say, just call this file. And you can create an email. I'm just going to say automatically open. And now at the beginning, I need to set some variables, set variable. And that variable name, again, is file. And I need to specify this as the get. Usually I put this, let's do desktop. Get desktop path, and then we have to specify the file name. So just to keep this simple, I will say list report, and then put a .pdf. Okay. And let me go ahead and open up my desktop so we can see that get created. So here's my desktop. Make that a little smaller. And we'll save this. Now it should create this. I have the dialog off. It should automatically open it. Oh, it gave me a dialog. Let's try this once again. Specify options. We want records being browsed. Okay. So, oh, there we go. Dialog off. This should work this time. Let's close these. Go back here. And so if you don't have a button that's assigned for a button for the script, you can just select this play button in the toolbar of the script workspace, and it will run the script. You can also select the bug button, and it will run that script with the debugger on, even if your debugger isn't open yet. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my desktop here, my desktop folder, so we can see that list report created. Let me delete the old one. And let's go ahead and run this. So we saw the list report pop open there, and it opened up on my other window, or other screen. There's our list report as a PDF, and then you can save that, email it, whatever you want to do with the PDF with those print options. So that's using scripting to either print to a printer or to save as a PDF to your desktop or another location. Do we have any questions about printing?
Not at the moment, but I think you've explained everything really thoroughly. So we did navigation, printing, and sorts. Is there anything else on the list of most common script uses, or are we?
Yeah, so we did finds as well. The last two things are imports and exports. And if you download a sample file like FM starting point and you want to get started, and you have some data to start with, that's a really great, going over the import and export is really helpful. So I'm going to go start with the exports because I don't have data here. If I go to File and Export Records, I can export as a number of different options here. I'm going to, for now, you can do a tab file, CSV file, XML, Excel. I'm going to say FileMaker Pro just to keep this easy. And I'll call this export. And I'm going to save to my desktop. It gives me the option to export everything from the found set, or I can do everything from the table or select a related table. I'm going to say current table. I'm just going to move all. And I will export. So now over here, I have my export file. And if I open that up, we only have 12 records. And there's all the field data. And actually, when you do an export like this into a FMP12 file, you get all of the container data that you wouldn't get in a CSV and such, so that it is handy. I'm going to say discard. So now that we have this data in here, I'm going to accidentally delete all my records. Delete all records. Well, that's no good. And we'll notice if we go through here, now we have a bunch of broken records. I can't navigate to the account that this is related to. All of this is broken, so I need to re-import. So I'm going back to my accounts, and I'll say File and Import. So if you have a CSV of your data and you're trying to get that into FM starting point or another sample file, this is how you do it. You select Import Records, File. And in my case, I'm going to use this FMP12 file, but you could do whatever you want, whichever file type you want. And I'll say OK. Now, and the reason I did the FMP12 file is so that I could match names and have this as a really easy import. But you might, if you have a CSV or a TAB file, you're going to have to make sure that these align correctly. I'm going to disable perform auto enter calculations because all the data that it has as far as IDs is data I want to keep. And I am going to say import. So imported those 12 records, and you'll notice that we have all the same data. And we are good to go. And now these other records over here are no longer broken. I can jump back because I said don't perform the auto enter data. It saved the old IDs that I had exported, and it restored the data that I had through that import. So we can do that. I just went through that and I didn't actually do it in the script. So that's a little embarrassing here. Let's go ahead and just put that in the script. So export records. So sometimes people need to see exported data, sales data, something like that. And you can specify, just like we did in the previous option, where we specify, we gave our export name. Here, this is going to be, we're going to call this one table report, COPS, and put in the end CSV. And then we will export those records. And we can say automatically open file, specify, and we'll just specify export everything. We'll say dialog off. So now we've got this export script, and we'll see what that looks like. So here's our list report that it exported, and it opened it up in numbers for me. There's my listed data. So here's our list exported as a CSV, which isn't quite, you don't get quite the data integrity of FMP12 since the FMP12 can do container information and such, but you can export the text and the other and number data, etc., with CSV. And then we can go and through that same process of importing it back in, using a script to import. So if we go back to here and do our import option, say import records. And usually I leave the dialog on for this so we can see what's going on. And I will say file, and I'll say add file, select my list report, and say okay. So here, now when I import, let's go ahead and do this with a debugger. When we look at this, now we don't know, maybe we aren't sure how this should line up. But you can go through the fields that you see here and make sure that they match up to the right thing. So here we see that this is not quite right. We have got Santa Clara should be going to the billing city, and this one's the billing calc, so we're not importing that one. And you would just go through here and just make sure everything's lining up correctly, and then select import. Okay, there's our new records. I'm going to go ahead and delete these though. Do we have any follow-up questions on importing or exporting?
No, I don't think so. Always important. I know that my father always used to tell me that you wanted to make a scripting for importing, so you would save what files match to which fields match to what fields you wanted to do. Because if you needed to re-import, then you would be screwed if you had to reset all of it again. So
yeah, often when you're doing imports, you don't get it quite right the first time. So saving those settings in the script is very helpful and saves you time in the long run.
Yeah, cool. I think we're good.
All right. So just to recap, we just went over the basics for scripting, some basic features that you might use for scripting, navigating to layouts, automating finds and sorts, printing or saving as a PDF, and then imports and exports.
Yes, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Calvin. Seriously. If you have any questions, please let us know. Please, if you have any questions, like you're watching this after the fact, you're watching the video of me and Calvin doing this, send us an email at support@rcconsulting.com. Thank you again, Calvin, for doing this. We'll see Calvin again Wednesday, and y'all have a lovely Monday. Bye.
report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!